All right. This is the underside of the bandsaw. This is the lower wheel. My thought process with this is that as the saw is sawing, there's a lot of sawdust that piles up down here. That's why I had the port originally on the outside of this in this corner. So I've opened this up because sawdust is going to come down into this cavity here. And so my thought process is when this is installed, we have this dust box that goes all the way to the bottom side of the table here and encapsulates the blade and will pull sawdust out of these two ports here. So there'll be a lot of downdraft. We'll be pulling air across the wheel back towards the vacuum, and we should be sucking up way more dust than we did before. This single port really helped. There was a lot of dust that piled up on top of the table. So I've got to drill holes in my insert and get airflow down into this box that I'm adding here. So one of the things I have to do is reinstall this plate that was on the saw to begin with. There's just several bolts here. Now you might be asking yourself, well, what are you going to do when you get ready to adjust this or change the blade? That's why we have these two knobs. This whole box will attach to the saw with these two knobs. And then we have two standoffs that will keep the plywood, the thin plywood, from bowing when we tighten it up. All right, so we got that back on. I've put magnets on the doors, which is really nice to be able to just open and close those instead of having to unscrew the knob. I thought about putting magnets on this, but the hose is pretty heavy and there's a lot of, the hose kind of goes in and out. So this is just a square box with a fitting on the bottom. This is a 4-inch drain fitting here, and this actually goes on the end of a gutter. So it's square, which is nice. Makes the profile a little bit thinner here. So let's see how this fits. And I'm not going to gasket this thing or anything like that. I'll make some wooden knobs to replace these. So there you go. It just kind of covers up this whole area and creates a low pressure zone to pull all the sawdust over to the dust collector. All right, let's get this hooked up to the dust collector and see what happens. I do have to shove the hose into this fitting. So the 4-inch hose will be attached to this all the time. So this other end already has a coupling on it. There is a short piece of pipe on this end because it's right here. It's right in front of us here. So I'm just going to shove this in there. I do plan on putting a couple screws in this to hold, since it's pulling straight down, and kind of help it a little bit. So one other thing I have to do is take the insert out that's on the table, on the bandsaw table, drill some holes in that. I may test this and see how it does without those holes, but I'm pretty sure we need some holes in that little insert. This is the blast gate here for it, and of course there's a little bit of hose that was left over from when I hooked up the hoses on the new bucket and the Cyclone, so those look pretty good. Let's let's resaw something and see what happens. So far. I don't know if the camera's picking this up or not, but there's just a little bit out here. There's really nothing in the air. But the telltale sign is going to be when we open this door and expose the wheel down at the bottom here. All right, let's see what we find in here. That is amazing, because normally it piles up in here and it actually comes out. There's a little bit of gap underneath the door. You can see that there's nothing to seal that off. And it normally would pile up out here. So when I did put these magnets on, I cut this door off. I've added this fence for resawing, and when I did that, it lowered the tabletop by 18 millimeter, and this was hitting. So I left this open because I'm thinking that airflow is coming in and making its way back around to the dust box that we just installed. So I tell you what I'll do. Let me find something else to resaw, and we won't cut the dust collector on, and we'll see what all collects inside there. All right, I've got a little bit bigger block. We'll have to make some adjustments here. All right, so I'm going to run this now with no dust collection and see what we see inside the lower wheel housing when we're done. Well, I don't have to cut another thing because there's a lot of dust coming out of this opening over here. Let's look at this box down here. You can see the dust on the outside. Wow, look at that. That's a lot in there. All right, so let's do this. Let's cut the dust collector on and see what happens with all that dust. Some of it went away. Of it went away. Well, I am just over the moon at how well this works. And I didn't even drill holes in this plate. I really don't want to drill holes in the plate on the table here, but this works great. It's amazing. I have put off installing dust collection in this shop ever since I started woodworking in this shop, and that was probably around 2016, I guess, something like that. I started the channel in 2019, December of 2019. So I hope you got something out of this. If not, you were at least entertained a little bit. And I'm shocked at how well this actually works. I have other dust collection ideas in mind as far as the scroll saw is concerned, something similar to this. So please subscribe and hit that like button if you would. I also am thought about this just now, I am getting a new miter saw that has been ordered. It's a Metabo 12-inch sliding miter saw, so I'm excited about that. I'm going to have to do some shop rearranging, move this cabinet behind me, and do some dust collection for that. So that's coming up as well. So please hit that subscribe button. I would love for you to be on board. I really appreciate you watching and coming in and spending some time in my shop as I piddle around and try and improve some of my equipment. And I'll see you on the next one.